Now I'll tell you about Rebecca and where I came from. There was a man by the name of Ray Everett Gaskin who lived in the mountains of East Tennessee and was a timberman by profession. Not too much education, but was very good at buying land, buying farms with timber on them, and he would cut the timber and have it sawed. He had sawmills, and he would saw it. He would sell it to different places around the country. Ray was married in 1919 to Jessie Bell McGahan, M-C-G-A-H-A-N. He had 4 children, Hazel and Bill and Carlos and Katie. For some reason, which unbeknown to, I guess to God himself would know, his wife went up to the tobacco barn and took a rope and hung herself, leaving Daddy Ray with these 4 children for him to raise by himself. Now, mother, Rebecca, came back into the mountains as a sort of like a missionary school teacher, and settled in and became involved in the community there and everything, and met Daddy Ray. Well, he was a big, tall, strong man, and so mother was a beautiful young woman, and these two fell in love and married. Now, this marriage was never really liked by mother's family in Murfreesboro, where she came from. They had a big farm down there. They were well off and everything, and here she had married an old mountain man. But anyway, after I found Daddy Ray, and I'll tell you about that later, but after I found Daddy Ray, he told me that mother and he would sit by the fireside at night, and she would teach him history one night, and she would teach him math one night, and she would teach him English one night, and literally educated him as they sat there. They lived up in the mountains, and this was in the early 30s, and of course the Depression was on, and Daddy Ray was lumberman, like I said, and he had a great big stack of lumber that was going to a flooring company up in Louisville, Kentucky. He was going to make a lot of money off of it, and lo and behold, the company in Louisville went broke, and the lumber just sat there on the railroad track and rotted. It just, Daddy Ray had every penny in the world locked up in it. This time, of course, there were the 4 children of Hazel and Bill and Carlos and Katie, Daddy Ray's kids, and then Dot and Connie, Daddy Ray and mother's 2 daughters. And the only thing they had to do is they had to go back to Murfreesboro. That was the only thing that was left, where mother's family had this big farm and plenty to eat and plenty of places to stay and everything. So, but before they went, Daddy Ray gave Hazel 35 cents to run down to the store and get some flour and a few things to eat so they could fix a meal. And so Hazel was running down to the store, and she tripped on a vine in the underbrush and lost the 35 cents and could not find it. So she went back home crying and told Daddy Ray that she had lost the 35 cents and just couldn't find it. It was gone. So therefore they didn't have anything. So Daddy Ray borrowed enough money to fill this old car he had with gas. And mother and Daddy Ray and 6 kids get in the car and they drive to Murfreesboro. Now when they get to Murfreesboro, of course the marriage between mother, who was a sort of a college prep girl, to an old mountain logging man, was never really accepted by the Rogers family. They thought mother had married much below her means. But anyway, when they got there, they moved in, and Daddy Ray was treated like a farm tenant. He got out and chopped cotton and chopped the weeds out of the fields, and just did a tenant's work for 6, 8 months, and he got tired of that. So one day he told Mother, he said, Beck said, I'm gonna go back to the mountains, and I'm gonna get started back in the lumber business. I know I can, and when I get settled and get a house and everything and get settled, I'll send for you. So he did that, and he left. And the day after he left, Grandma Rogers, who you remember now, is Connie, and Connie is the daughter of Grandpapa Jellicourse, the sister of Bill Jellicourse. And Connie is the mother of Rebecca, my mother, so she's my grandmother. But she's the patriarch of the Rogers family. So the day after Daddy Ray left, she goes to town and gets an attorney and files suit against Daddy Ray for desertion. So then when the papers are filed and sent to Daddy Ray up in the mountains, he just doesn't know how to accept it. He doesn't know what to do about it. So he comes back to Murfreesboro and gets his 4 children, you know, Hazel and Katie and Bill and Carlos, and takes them back to the mountains by himself. Leaves Mother there with Dot and Connie. And then later on, he told me later in later years, he said, I went back there one day, and I tried to talk Beck to come back with me, and said the Rogers wouldn't let me on the farm, wouldn't let me on the land, and I met Beck down there at the end of that big long gravel lane with the trees on each side and going up to the big house, and said that she was standing there, and we talking about getting back together, and she said it just wouldn't work. We just couldn't get back together. She was standing there holding a baby in her arms, and I thought it was one of her sister's children or something. And he said, you know, Tommy, he said, that must have been you. And that was the first time. That was in later years when he was thinking about that. That was been me. But anyway, they separated, they divorced, and their lives went on.